My full name is John Padilla, Jr., and I was born in Los Angeles at the White Memorial Hospital. But in 1950, the Korean War started as far as the activity. In those days, they called it a police action. But I could tell from my age, which was 19, and that Uncle Sam was getting close to asking me to serve in the service. So these other three buddies of mine and I decided to go to the May Company in Los Angeles, where they had an enlistment board, an enlistment office, I should say. And we were to meet there on Monday morning at 8:30, and all four of us enlisted in the Air Force. That was quite an ordeal because I showed up at 8:30 and my friends didn't show up, and they didn't show up, and I thought, well, maybe they're late. So about 9:30, I went in and joined the Air Force and got a week pass, I should say, and didn't have to report back for a week. So that day I finished with all the enlistment procedures and physicals and all that, and then went home and looked up my buddies. And they said, "Where you been, John?" And I said, "I went down to the enlistment office by the May Company in Los Angeles, and you guys were supposed to meet." "Well, we kind of outfoxed you. We joined the California National Guard." And I said, "Why'd you do that?" And they said, "Well, that way we can stay home. We don't have to leave. We don't have to do anything. We still retain our jobs." So I made some comment about I hoped that they were activated and sent to Korea and got their butts shot off. But anyway, it was all in gesture. And so a week later, I went to on the train from Los Angeles all the way to Texas for basic training. There in Lackland Air Force Base at San Antonio, Texas, I had applied for A&E mechanic, which means aircraft mechanic, diesel mechanic, and auto mechanic. And when I went before the sergeant that was looking at my request, he said, "It notes here that you speak Spanish." And I said, "Yes, I do, fluently." So after a quick test, they resolved that I would have air traffic control as my primary duty, secondary air traffic control, thirdly air traffic control, and I didn't know anything about air traffic control. In fact, my thoughts were I would be up on the top of a big water tower and I'd be turning the valves on and off because I didn't know what air traffic control was. Now, the rest of the people in my flight, except for us two, the one that spoke French and I spoke Spanish, we went to air traffic control school. The rest of them, they divided them in half. Half went to be cooks and the other half went to be the military police. So they were a little bit disgruntled, thinking that they would like to have been either aircraft mechanics or what other, and they didn't have that choice. So I went to Biloxi, Mississippi, and went through a special course for 6 months and graduated in December of 1950 as an air traffic controller for the Air Force. And then they asked if we would go to overseas. And they sent me on a ship to Japan. For 13 days I was on a ship. Now there was 1,000 Air Force, 1,000 Marines, and 4,000 ground pounders, which interpreted as Army. And we were all going to Japan and to Korea. We went out through the Golden Gate, and about an hour out, there's the islands out there, and the weather got rough. I was eating breakfast, and it was a very sad thing after I got through with my breakfast because my tray went down, as the ship listed. And when it came back, this other young man had filled it up for me. So I got sick also, and I was 13 days sick going to Japan. So I went to Japan for 2.5 years in air traffic control. And I was stationed at Misawa Air Force Base, which is the northern part of the island of Japan. And then I went for a month or two across to Hokkaido to Shitoshi, all in the winter, snow just heaped up all over. And then they said there was a school down in Tokyo, and since I was the youngest air traffic controller in the squadron, I was selected to go. So I went, and I spent the rest of my 2 years in Japan in air traffic control in Tokyo. I did get back to Los Angeles, and I met Jack, and I said, "Jack, how you guys doing?" And he said, "Johnny, you're the only smart one in the bunch." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because 6 months after we enlisted, we were activated, trained, and we were in Korea in the foxholes." And he said, "Benny didn't make it back. Mike got one in the knee. I got one in the elbow." And he said, "So you were the lucky one." Let's put it this way. I came from poor circumstances. I only had a high school education. And so without college, even in the days when I started to work for FAA, they would accept high school graduates, but nothing less than that. But with a high school graduation certificate, I still probably didn't have the employment skills of the day. So I consider myself very fortunate that FAA accepted my background of 4 years like a college diploma to enhance my entrance into FAA. And it gave me a different aspect in life, because now I was able to make a salary commensurate with everybody at that level in 1955. And as time went on and I increased in the GS ratings that I received, I was able to provide for my family in a better way. And as a result, it gave me a career that I was proud of and one that I made good money at. So I enjoyed it immensely, and I'm glad that I did. So it acted almost like a college background for me, and I'm glad I did that. Otherwise, I might have been just a mechanic working at a shop till I was 65.